Hello, welcome everybody. Thank you for being here. Another episode of Bravo Plant-Based Channel and BravoPB.com. I am Chef Bravo. Welcome to all of you and to all of you as well. Very simple, quick, and yummy dish today. This is we're gonna call this I've never done this one before, but I know it's gonna turn out great. We're gonna call it a pesto roasted cabbage and shiitake mushrooms. Okay, it should turn out quite tasty, and I'll explain to you why, even though I've never done it before. So I am stealing this a little bit. Shout out to my good friend, my sister from another mister, Chef AJ. She had this very similar recipe, which I'm sort of stealing now. So what she did stuffed mushrooms with this. So she took some cremini mushrooms, sort of hauled them out, and then put the filling that I'm gonna make for you, and then stuffed the mushrooms and then roasted them. I am incorporating cabbage to this because I've been wanting to do a cabbage something, like a braised cabbage kind of thing for quite a while, and I just hadn't figured out which exact flavor I wanted to do, and this is it today. So between the different flavor profiles that's going to go in the pesto, along with that earthiness of the mushrooms and that sort of salty from the cabbage, and then it's going to get all roasted, it should turn out really good. Sound good? Yes. All right. What I have here to show you is I have my pot. It's got about a half a cup of water, okay? And I'm basically just going to create a steamer. If you have a pot with a nice basket insert, that would work out perfectly. I'll show you what I have here. I have some cabbage wedges. Okay. So what I did was I took a whole cabbage, cleared out those sort of funky outer leaves. Okay. And then looking at the stem part, that's where I kind of cut in half again, and this is a quarter, which I then half. Okay. So these are 2/8 of a cabbage. Okay. It is very important for this that you maintain that core so that the whole thing stays together. Otherwise, you'll end up with all these leaves just sort of randomly flapping. All right. I also have some shiitake mushrooms, to which all I did was just took the stems off. All right. So this is the main sort of meaty part of the dish. All right. And since we've never done it before, it's good I see a lot of you taking notes because I have no idea on proportions. I'm just sort of gonna go off of what looks good. Okay. All right. In the food processor, actually, let me back up for a little bit. My original thought was to just roast this whole thing and make it really nice. However, the cooking time of the pesto is much quicker than the cabbages. So that's why I'm pre-cooking the cabbage, okay? I then thought, this is all sort of the conversation in my head. Then I thought, well, I'll just get a pan, sear them first, and then I'll spread the stuff on it and, bake and roast it up. The problem with that is that I thought it's going to dry out too much, okay? And that's where the steaming part comes in. So I'm gonna throw in the cabbages in there. So the question is, does the water coming from the cabbage, will that dilute the pesto? The answer is yes, a little bit, but because we're gonna roast it in the oven, it will turn out nicely. The oven will give us the perfect amount of dryness. Okay? So it's just sort of this perfect medium between, getting it nice and roasted and not too dry. Make sense? Because when cabbage gets too dry, it just becomes very chewy. It's like leathery, strawy. Yeah. All right, we'll turn this down just a second. All right, so now in the food processor, we'll do some pine nuts.
Roasted or not?
No, these are raw. Raw pine nuts. Raw garlic cloves.
How much?
Let's say 4 cloves.
Yeah. No, how much pine nuts?
Oh, how much pine nuts? Three-quarters of a cup.
Oh.
Yeah. Now this is going to make more than I need for the amount I'm going to show you, so you'll have extra. But again, this is probably like 2 portions. When you have this much pesto, you'll be like, oh, that's the perfect amount for 4 or 6 people. So 3/4 cups of pine nuts, give or take. 4 cloves of garlic. And then we're gonna carefully measure some no salt grain mustard. I'm gonna give my cabbages here a quick flip. Okay.
What kind of mustard?
This is West Spray stone ground salt-free mustard.
Thank you.
Okay. So we'll call this 4 teaspoons. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Careful.
And a little extra just in case. Okay. And now, let's just say, where's my numbers? 4-ish mediumly packed leaves of basil. Fresh basil. 4-ish cups. And some lemon juice. This will be my liquid. This I'm gonna go 1/4 cup. All right, I'm gonna turn that off. So it's gonna be, the idea is to make it sort of pasty. Okay, I don't want it too liquidy. All right. Gonna give it a quick taste. Use a touch more garlic.
Always. 3 more.
So 2 more, so now we're up to 6 cloves. What happened was, when I tasted it, the first thing, and the strongest flavor was the lemon. The basil and the garlic were having a hard time coming through, even with just that 1/4 cup. So, now the pine nuts you won't taste in the original thing because they're raw, but once they go in the oven, they give a beautiful nutty flavor.
Chef Ramsay's?
Yes,
If you wanted to make that a salad dressing, would you add water?
no, vegetable broth. If you add water, you're just watering down the flavor.
Would there be a substitute for pine nuts, considering how expensive they are?
Absolutely. Excuse me, cashews
Okay.
would be the ideal substitute. See, I'm splurging on you guys. I'm gonna remind you.
You feel special.
Yeah. All right. That's about right. Okay. So now I have a tray here lined with a sill pad. This is essentially one of our big sill pads, and once it started getting funky, we just cut it into chunks so to fit the little
How do
pans.
you spell that?
Sill pads, S-I-L-P-A-D. Bless you. Okay. So as you can see here, I had one pre-done just because I wanted to make sure there was enough here on the tray to play with.
Chef, do you steam that till it's tender?
No. If you steam it till it's tender, you've overcooked it, okay? Because I just want to get it a little bit softer so that my cooking time between the cabbage and the pesto is the same, okay? If it's tender here, you overdid it. All right, so I am now removing. And if you're taking notes, I mentioned there was about a 1/2 cup of water in the pan to begin with. I would start with a 1/4 cup so that when that liquid dries out, you're done. Okay, so that was too much water.
That does look tender, the cabbage.
It does, but it's still, I can feel it. See, I try to pinch it and it's like still hard.
Don't be pinching your cabbage.
All right, and now all I'm gonna do is just slather it. If you want, you could try to separate the cabbage a little bit so that some of the pesto gets in between there. Again, I have never made this before, but just instinctually, the more pesto, the better, right? Now, why will this work, even though I've never done it, okay? Because I'm confident, because I have sourness between the lemon juice and that vinegar that they put in the mustard, along with the earthiness of the mushrooms, that umami flavor from the mushrooms. And then once it's baked and roasted, it's gonna pick up a nice nutty flavor from the pine nuts, okay? And I got some spice there from the garlic, okay? Which is, garlic is always a good depth of flavor, all right? So just between that, I know that it's gonna work, okay? Because I got contrasting flavors. I make sure that it's gonna have the right tender level, okay? And now, let's see if you guys can see this. What's missing here?
Color crunch.
Not crunch, you're gonna get
Color.
crunch, color, okay. So I have a little bit of Brunoise red pepper. This is adding nothing other than a little bit of color, okay?
What kind of red pepper?
Just a bell pepper, just a that bell pepper. I could, if I wanted to, make a, like a red jalapeno, okay? Because I have enough sour here that would contrast well with the spiciness of it. But again, I'm just doing it just for a little bit of color, so there's a little bit more eye appeal. Nothing else.
Would it be overkill if you use the pepper like that some people put on pizza, that red pepper flakes?
No, because that's already dried. Okay, if
Okay.
I sprinkle it over the top and it goes in the oven, I'm likely to burn it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so 350 degrees convection. If you don't have a convection oven, let's do 400. And you roast it until it looks good, okay? My guess is gonna be somewhere in the 15-ish minutes, okay? But if I tell you 15 minutes, you do this at home, you look at it and you're like, you know, it could go a little bit longer, so stick it back in there, not a problem. You may have to open your oven, take the tray out with, you know, with a towel or an oven mitt, and rotate the pan and put it back in, because most ovens, actually all ovens, have hot spots. So what happens is you'll see sort of the roasting on one side, but if you turn it around, it's like the backs of it didn't get roasted at all. Okay. And we have a convection oven and it has hot spots all over the place. Okay, so a convection does not mean that it's gonna cook evenly. Most of the time you have to take your trays out and rotate. Sound good?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And approximately, I know you said till done, but 10 minutes,
I
half
said
hour?
15-ish minutes,
I
so
missed that, thank you.
I would say check it at 10, so you get an idea how much longer it needs. At 10, that's when you might want to do your rotating. Yeah, I'm
Thanks.
thinking 15. Yeah. What will happen is there's enough water in the mushrooms and the cabbage still that it's gonna do this sort of balancing act between, the oven's gonna try to burn the pesto, but the moisture in there, it's gonna be like, no, not quite, okay? And once that battle is lost by the water, then you start getting that golden brown, and that's when you wanna get it before the golden turns into black. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so into the oven now. So here it is for you guys, and then you guys. It's got that nice, you know, roasted look.
We're also starving.
Let's see, I'm gonna take one of the leaves here.
Yeah, eat it and tell us. Tell us afterwards.
The fancy people who are salivating.
So I'm gonna do that, and then one of the mushrooms. And I do like that, you know, the peppers kept that little bit of red, but it's small,
Yeah. that's
and
a
it
nice
just,
touch.
it looks like it's sprinkled.
Yeah.
It's
Does that have
seasoned.
any pesto on it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And the
since you-
mushrooms are kept whole, right?
You're looking at
The
this
mushrooms
side.
I kept
like
whole.
that.
And you steam the mushroom, the cabbage, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's delicious.
I'm trying to describe it, but there is so much going on. The pesto now, the pine nuts got that nice nutty to it. So when I tasted it earlier, it was just the lemon was the pronounced flavor, but now the nuts come in, the nuttiness, and it's a sort of revolving. We'll call it another spiral, a flavor spiral, where the brain goes, ooh, nutty, ooh, sour, ooh, the basil is good, oh, the garlic, oh, cabbage is great, that roastedness, oh man, and then it goes over.
So if you were serving that for dinner, what would you serve with it?
Rice. I'm thinking rice would be like the right thing. The quinoa.
Potatoes. That's true.
I wouldn't do potatoes, and then I'll tell you. So I'm thinking rice is going to be the perfect for this reason. Sort of process of elimination. If I do quinoa with this, I already have that strong earthy flavor there from the mushrooms. I don't need more of that. This is like a perfect balance. And then the potatoes, by themselves, potatoes tend to sort of dilute flavor a little bit. Not dilute it, but like they need to absorb flavor so they become flavorful themselves. So I'm thinking if I serve this with potatoes, it's gonna take away from the flavor here. Whereas rice will do some of that as well because it's a starch, but it won't do it as much. Okay. Also, potatoes, if I don't steam them, they're gonna be too dry because this is already sort of dry. So I'm thinking of the moisture level of rice. It's gonna be just right. I don't know if that makes sense. But
Makes perfect
As
sense.
long as we're talking about rice, if you were to make the rice a little bit more complex than just rice, what would you do?
Once I slather all the cabbages on there, whatever the pesto's left, that's gonna go in the cooking liquid.
Ah.
And if you were with somebody who has to have, even we know, because we're so educated and informed, that there's protein in this meal, especially with the rice. But if somebody likes to have some protein, what would you, I see tofu with this, so baked tofu versus beans.
Yep.
Okay. How would you prepare
Yeah.
tofu?
Well, the tofu would be.
Baked in, roasted in,
Baked in there,
okay,
yeah.
cool.
The thing about tofu is that it's so bland, okay, that it really needs a flavorful sauce to go with it. So in comes the pesto and boom, done.
Awesome.
All right, so thanks everybody for watching. This has been another episode of Bravo Plant-Based Channel. I hope you give this a try. It came out really good, really good. If you like this video, please hit the subscribe button. And other than that, thank you guys for being here, and thank you all as well.